So construction companies in Texas are warning that Donald Trump's mass deportation plan could devastate their industry and could derail Texas's economic growth. So as you can see, Texas builders are warning that Donald Trump's mass deportation of undocumented migrants could devastate the construction industry, threaten housing and infrastructure work in one of the nation's fastest growing states. Now let's see what one of the CEOs of these big construction companies had to say about Donald Trump's plan to deport undocumented migrants. Quote, "It would devastate our industry. We wouldn't finish our highways. We wouldn't finish our schools, ... Housing would disappear. I think they'd lose half their labor," end quote. And that CEO's fear is valid. As you can see, over 500,000 immigrants work within the Texas construction industry, 60% of them being undocumented. So there you have it. A state that overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump now has industry leaders within that state sounding the alarm about how dangerous Donald Trump's plan will be for their businesses and for Texas's economy on the whole. It's not a good plan.
Farms in deep red Texas are shut down, and Donald Trump is the reason. Now, as you know, Donald Trump has shifted ICE from focusing on criminal immigrants to going after easier targets such as job sites to pump his numbers up. But farms are hurting because of this, as many of their workers are either being deported or not showing up for fear of being caught up in these raids. And because of this, they're essentially shut down and no work can be done. Just take a listen to one farmer.
3 weeks it started to slow, but this last week or so has been huge. That's when it's like 0 people wanting to come out. And
yeah, 0 people. 0 people going to work the farms. And while, yes, these farmers are in the find out phase, we're all going to be in it, because they're talking that our food supply is going to be shut down or have major interruptions. And it's not just Texas, it's California and Washington. We are finding out that, yes, immigrants do help the American economy. Immigrants are part of the American fabric. We just didn't realize it till it was too late.
Texas is feeling the heat, not just from the weather. Why? My name is Lick. In today's video, we are going to talk about why business owners are now crying out due to the lack of workers after massive deportation of Latino, Black American, even people from Asia. Remember that credit goes to the owner of the video. I got a more video like this. Let's jump into this. I will come back with a comment.
All right, MAGA, get out there. Where are you at? You got your jobs back. You got your jobs that were taken from you. Get out there. Get out there and start working. Get to work. America first. Get out there. 100% haven't shown up to work due to immigration raids, Texas farmer says. America's migrant workers are terrified to work, but unable to stay home. So get out there, MAGA. You got these jobs back. You took them back. You voted. You got your guy in there to get rid of all of those migrant workers. So get out there. Get out there and start working. But for real, I want to shout out to the undocumented migrant workers, as they were deemed essential in 2020. They stepped up when this nation needed them most. They have my utmost respect. They should see a pathway to citizenship. Period. Period. They were deemed essential workers, risking their lives in one of the most hazardous jobs in the entire U.S. labor market. They have my full respect. Thank you for your service and your contribution to this country.
This is why the disaster in Texas is Trump's fault. 22 children are missing. 37 at this point have died. Texas officials had no idea that this was coming. They had no way to prepare for this because Trump got rid of the people that do that. Now, the National Weather Service was already critically understaffed before Trump and Elon Musk fired 600 staffers. All 5 former directors of the agency wrote to Trump warning about this very thing. Quote, "Our worst nightmare is that the weather forecast offices will be so understaffed that there will be needless loss of life." That's exactly what happened. So Texas had no way of knowing that 10 inches of rain was going to flood this valley. Trump did this, and Republicans cheered. And now there's no more FEMA help for Texas either. Is this really what you wanted? Because this disaster was entirely predictable.
Oh man, crazy. You know, they've been fired many workers. They thought like, you know, we need to kick them out because we don't need them. Now, even people of the country, kids of the country are missing because of you. It's crazy. I still have a more video. Let's watch it.
Texas is now in the find out stage of Donald Trump's policy, specifically his plan to deport immigrants, as alarms are going off in the construction industry inside Texas that they will lose half of their workforce. One CEO said this, quote, "It would devastate our industry. We wouldn't finish our highways. We wouldn't finish our schools. Housing would disappear. I think we'd lose half the labor," unquote. Where were they during the campaign? Donald Trump has been saying he was going to do this for months, for years now. He was serious about it. It just boggles my mind that the whole time he is saying it, they must have known this could be the outcome, and yet they stayed silent. They stayed silent, and now they want to worry. It's as if they wanted him in his office, hoping they could stop him from doing all of his destructive plans, just so Kamala Harris wouldn't become president. Well, welcome to the find out stage with the rest of us. We were already prepared. We knew this was coming. For you, this may be a different experience, but welcome to it.
Texas is feeling the heat, and not just from the weather. A new report from the Dallas Fed says that the state's economy is slowing down, thanks in part to Trump's second-term policies on trade and immigration. Job growth has dipped, construction is down 26% since January, and inflation is creeping up. Even though Texas is still outperforming the national average. Why? Businesses are nervous. Tariffs are raising costs, but companies are holding off on price hikes because consumers just aren't spending. On top of that, labor shortages are hitting hard, especially in industries like agriculture, construction, and hospitality, where undocumented workers played a massive role. Economists say if you want to grow, build, or go anywhere in Texas, you need these folks. And until there's more stability, experts warn the Lone Star economy could be headed for more bumps. Share this with a friend who thinks Texas is recession-proof.
Once Kamala said, if you need, to be successful in a business, you need these folks. However, Donald Trump is kicking them out. When you have someone around, you don't evaluate him. But when he left, you feel the heat. This is what's happened to America. I got another one. Let's keep watching the video.
Contrary to popular belief and whatever condescending fairy tales you may have been spoon-fed, you can in fact mess with Texas. The bumper sticker was always more slogan than law, really. A swaggering bluff shouted over Lone Star beer and barbecue smoke. And now it has been revealed as nothing but a cheap shot of bravado. Because when the orange bronze devil made a phone call, every last one of these blithering Republican idiots came crawling on hands and knees. They won't fight, they won't resist, they won't even feign independence. They'll just kiss the ring and whatever else they're told to kiss, then strut back to Austin, calling it victory for the Republic. On August 20th, the Texas House passed a new set of gerrymandered redistricting maps, 88 to 52, handing Republicans an artificial advantage in 5 Democratic-leaning districts. Democrats fled the state, breaking quorum in an attempt to block the bill. It was their Alamo, their last stand in defense of the people's right to vote. But the gavel still fell and the maps went through. Not governance, conquest. And this is where the hypocrisy cuts deepest. For a century, Texas sold itself as the line in the sand. Remember the Alamo. Remember Goliad. Remember the ranchers who stood against the heavy hand of Washington. This is supposed to be the state that spit in the eye of federal overreach, the state that bragged it could be its own country, the state that prided itself on independence and fire. But all of that was just theater, because when Trump wags his fingers, the mighty cowboys of Texas crawl to him like beggars. They've proved that the only thing bigger in Texas is the bullshit. And here's the question that should really haunt every Texan with a shred of pride left. How did the Don't Mess with Texas crowd become the most obedient lapdogs in America? How did the state that prided itself on standing tall become the state that kneels first and longest? Was all that talk about independence and honor just bullshit for the tourists? A Carnival Act and a Campaign Act?
Oh no.
Because when the moment came to prove it, Texas Republicans folded
Okay.
off the paper sack. The Democrats who fled to break quorum may have been mocked, but history will remember them as the only ones in the room with the guts to fight. They tried to hold the line. They tried to honor the people who elected them. They tried to shout that Texas is not for sale. And though they lost, they still stood taller than the cowards who crawled. So yes, you can in fact mess with Texas. And the proof of that is that Texas Republicans are doing it for themselves, gleefully, shamelessly, and on command. They've sold the soul and legacy of Texas to a New York City con man who's never cared for the state and never will. And remember that, Texas. Remember it when you vote. Remember it when you see these puffed up men in their boots and their hats pretending to carry the soul of the place. Because they don't. They've already traded it away. They betrayed Texas. They are not cowboys. They are not rebels. They are Trump's little boys. All hat, no cattle. Governable cowards who sold Texas for a wink from a slick city boy that's living off of daddy's money. And that is a shame they should never be allowed to outlive. And when the dust settles, remember this too. Individual liberty was supposed to be the cornerstone of Texas. That was the creed carved into the stone, the anthem sung from every porch and pasture. And it wasn't Greg Abbott who carried that torch. It wasn't the hollow speaker, Dustin Burrows, or the Republican bootlickers drawing lines in secret. It was the Democrats who walked out. The ones who broke quorum, who gave the state the stiff backbones it was promised. That is the most Texas thing I've ever seen. Not kneeling, not cowering, not begging for scraps from a gilded table, but standing tall in the face of power and saying no. A middle finger to the establishment and the goddamn governor. That's the cowboy shit right there. That's the spirit that built the place. That's the defiance Texas pretends to own but is long since forgotten. So if you want badasses, don't look at Greg Abbott. Don't look at his yes men in boots and cheap suits. Look at Ann Johnson and Nicole Collier and James Tallarico and John Busey. Men and women who stood their ground. They are the legacy, plain and simple. They're the ones worthy of the cowboy myth because they didn't bow. They didn't crawl and they didn't sell. Defiance till death.
For those who voted for Trump, they never thought they are going to vote against their interest. This is what happened to those people who driven by hate. I hate those Latino, Black people. They need to go back where they're coming from. But when they left, business owner from Texas, now struggling. I hope you like today's video. Share your comment. See you on another one.